Hey everybody, today I'm so excited to be sitting down and chatting with Elana Jadallah. Elana is a digital storyteller, educator, online marketing consultant, blogger, photographer. She advises on social media presence, content creation, cultivating community, brand strategy, and so much more. She's just amazing. She specializes in coaching small businesses to better communicate their mission, value, and aesthetic to their ideal clients, and recently just published a book all about her strategies. She's a Utah native, currently living in Hawaii, and her heart lies in making authentic relationships, inspiring genuine connections, and learning about this world from varied perspectives. I was just recently introduced to Elana maybe about 8 weeks ago, but I already feel that this girl shares my heart, and I couldn't be more thrilled to have her on the show. So Elana, welcome. I'm so excited you're here.
Oh, thanks so much for having me. I'm excited. I love what you do. The girl crush is mutual. I am so excited to be here with you.
Yay. I'm so excited you're here. So I'd love to just kind of kick things off and ask you to share a little bit of your story and sort of what inspired Elana Liu Consulting and just, the path that led you to where you are today.
Yeah. So as you said, I'm originally from Utah. And so I started out there. I went to college. I was going to be an event planner actually, but my heart was kind of steered more towards marketing. So I changed my major and I went towards communications and marketing and PR. Started interning in social media and then worked my way up to the marketing director in a company that was based in California. So kind of got big scale bloggers, lots of the networking, understanding logistics, all the kind of strategy that goes into the brand side of social media marketing and all that kind of stuff. And wasn't really for me. It was a little bit too big, just wasn't my cup of tea. So I started teaching social media workshops all across the US. And again, I loved that. And I kind of got closer to hitting the mark because I was working with small businesses, which to me, entrepreneurial hearts are like, they're my people, the people that are willing to kind of put it all out on the line and risk and do something different and really chase what they love. Those are my people. So I loved the workshop space because it kind of did that event planner side. I got to, do all the pretty parts and plan different photo ops and experiences, which I love. But again, it was a little off the mark because I wanted to work one-on-one with people. That's what I think makes the biggest impact on businesses, is if it's custom catered to you and you're able to work with somebody who has a very different outlook than you do. Kind of gives you a fresh perspective and gives you a better idea on what you can be doing for your brand. So that's kind of how consulting came. And as of almost 2 years now, my partner Aaron, he joined on, and so that's how when we formed Derive Collective. So Derive Collective kind of took the place of Elana Liu Consulting. I wanted to have a consulting business that thrived, but I didn't want it just to be female based. I work well with male or female, different demographics, and Aaron has a lot to offer that I didn't. So we kind of joined together and changed our purpose a tiny bit so that we're working with a larger demographic, and it's been phenomenal.
That's amazing. I love that. And I love that you've really used your background in marketing into what you're doing today. Because I find that for myself, and I really only recently did this like in the past 6 months, where for the first time when I entered entrepreneurship, I was like, I don't want to associate myself with the events world. I don't want to be that person. I'm doing my own thing. And it wasn't until I really realized I was like, I need to use those skills in what I'm doing now. And that's when everything sort of shifted for me. So I'd love to hear that, that's where you sort of came from. And
well, I think that's so hard. It's like, we all think that one position is like, it's an end of a chapter or something when you no longer are doing it. But I think of it as the opposite. It's like little pebbles all along the way, our journey, it adds up to something. Like everything makes sense in the end if you're able to utilize everything. If it was an odd job or weird internship or whatever, you think like, it doesn't play a role in my life now, which I think is the opposite. There's a gained lesson or skill or anything from any chapter in your life. So I think that's awesome you're doing it as well.
Yeah, no, I recently was listening to this workshop on innovation, and it was kind of like all the different ways that your path turns. Like that's what causes you to create this innovation and to have those inspired moments and those ideas
Yeah.
for what you're doing. So yeah, that was a huge lesson learned for me too. And now, so
Love it.
everyone I talk to, I'm like, check the history books, you know,
Yeah, for sure.
and,
Definitely.
and look where you came from. But
Yeah.
I love it. But you know, so as online entrepreneurs, you know, we're often surrounded by what everyone else is doing. You know, everyone's doing their own thing on social media, and I really often notice the different ways that people are marketing their businesses. And I have to say that when I, you know, came across you and I landed on your Instagram profile and just started reading through your captions and your photos and went on to check out your website, it was just like a breath of fresh air. I just have to tell you that.
Oh, thank you. That means a lot.
Yeah. And I mean, you stood out in this sea of other entrepreneurs for me. And I actually was like, I sat there and I was like, okay, why is that? Like, what is it about her that is having that effect? And so what it really came down to was that I felt like you were one of the few people that was using social media in the way it was intended, you know, to be social.
Thank
And
you.
yeah, and I mean, I have to say, like, I've been on, I don't know, I've been on social media since I was 15 years old, right?
Yeah.
With the Facebook and everything. And it wasn't until I really got into the entrepreneurial space that social media became a marketing tool first and then a social tool second. And that's when I started to feel really disconnected and realize how backwards that was. So I mean, I'd love for you to kind of share what your approach to social media is, because it is unique, I find, and just, you know, how you use it for your business, and maybe even before that, like how you think maybe entrepreneurs aren't using it properly or misusing it today.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And I prepared like a little kind of takeaway for anyone who's listening that can kind of apply this for their own community on kind of how to build it. But as far as like how to look at it and how to use it and how I do it, number one, view it as a community. You will never, ever, ever hear me use the word followers besides right then. And I'm not going to use it again because I don't believe anybody is following anybody. I believe that they're tapping into a network or they're interested in you as a person or as a message or as a brand. And I think it seems really simple, but like by actually honoring that and seeing like this is a person, not a follower, this is a group of people or a community, not a bunch of followers. Like, do you see how that there's a disconnect? And so if you can honestly take that into everything you do, serving your current community and serving new people that are about to join your community, if you think about it as adding value and like being a real person talking to real people, and it sounds so like surface level and naive, like of course, Elana, that's what everyone does, but it's not. People talk about doing it and then don't do it themselves. They don't respond. They don't actually think about how things are being interpreted or understood. They just think, okay, this is what I have to say and I'm going to put it out there. Or all I'm going to talk about is my product or services, or I'm only going to talk about my promotions. Well, some people don't want to know just that. They want to know the person behind the brand, even if you're a large brand, you know, maybe the multiple people that are behind your brand, or at least the mission and the heart of what you guys are doing and why you're doing it. I obviously am really fired up about this. I talk about this all the time.
It. That's why you're here.
Well, I'm glad to be here. And so I think my main takeaway is to understand that it is a social network and to honor that, be very aware. And it doesn't have to, for small businesses, a lot of people are like, oh, that's so overwhelming. I don't have time. You have time. If you have time to answer your emails, you have time to be on social media. Schedule it out. You don't have to just sit on your phone and scroll all day. Nobody has time for that. But making it a really large part, I mean, it's like your easiest focus group. It's where you can get your feedback, good and bad. It's where you can make connections, network, get fresh ideas. There's just so much that goes on social media if you use it as a positive tool and you honor it for what it is.
Yeah, I love that. I love that you bring such intentionality to it. Like that's one of my values is intentionality, and it's true. It's like you don't want to just be scrolling all day and
waste of time. And it's so like inspirations suck if you do it that way. Like it just takes everything out of you. That's totally where that comparison is the thief of joy. Obviously that there was comparison before social media, but now it's to a whole new level. And if you just sit on your phone and scroll, that's what happens. But if
Yeah.
I always say create before you go out. Like, don't scroll or do whatever you're going to do and then post or create, keep ideas for content creation. Create, then engage,
Yeah.
and make sure that you're doing it very strategically, not just doing it to do it.
Yeah, no, I love that. I mean, last time we spoke, when we had our conversation before this, there was something that you said that really stuck out to me. And I like wrote it down after our call, and I was like, okay, I need to remember this and to really implement it and apply it to what I'm doing. And you said something around like, you spend so much time speaking to your clients about, their social strategy, their content, their branding, that when it comes to you blogging and sharing on social media, you choose to share other things that aren't necessarily related to your business, but are about you. And that is what ultimately attracts people to your business. It's like this cycle. And I mean, it sounds so simple and it makes so much sense. And yet I don't think a lot of entrepreneurs are doing that because maybe and I know I've got caught up in it before. Maybe they're afraid, like, if they don't talk about their business, then they're not going to make any money. Or it's kind of like wanting to have this control over it. And so I guess like I've had trouble balancing that before. So, but I thought that was so refreshing to hear you say that, what you share is so much, because people don't really connect to your business. They connect to human beings, right?
Yes.
So,
and it's different for each entrepreneur and each business scale. And that's why I love to consult, because it's so much easier for me to like look at what you're doing and then give you advisement. But for me and my personal business, I started out as a photographer. I started out as a visual storyteller. I loved to write. My Instagram was becoming like a micro blog. Like, I would just write these long captions. And I started thinking about it. As I said, I used to work in the blogging industry and it wasn't my cup of tea. I wanted more kind of depth to it, kind of the old style of blogging. But I also didn't want to have this very, very personal thing that was all about me. I wanted to share more stories or travel adventures, whatever. And so I said, you know what, I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to do it. And it may not, I don't want to be a social media blogger. I don't want to be an info blogger. That's not what I wanted to do. I kind of wanted to share where it all started from. And so I talk about social media and marketing all day long. And I love it. And I get super fired up about it. But then when I sit down and write, like literally in a journal or physically on a computer, I want to write about things that inspire me and get me excited outside of that. It refuels me. And like you said, it's kind of come full circle, because now people will find me because they're an entrepreneur that's looking to travel, or coming to Hawaii, or, I will write stuff that's about like productivity or stuff that helps entrepreneurs, but tends to be from the scope of like, hey, I'm just out here doing the same thing you're doing. And they'll find me from that, and they'll be like, oh, you actually offer consulting. Awesome. I need that. Or my friend needs that. Or, some other business I know needs that. So it doesn't work for everybody in that sense, but I believe every brand should have more subjects to talk about than just their product or service or their business. So whether you're doing that just on social media, if you add it in as a blog, or however you do it that works for you, showing that you're more than just what you offer is huge. It's absolutely huge.
Yeah. And I think it's something that I'm sure a lot of people are listening right now and saying like, oh, I've heard that. Like, I know it.
Yes.
Like, how are you actually applying it and sitting down to figure out what are those things? And I actually did this exercise this past week where I was like, okay, what are like the 5 things that someone would say about me other than my business? And it was hard. It was not easy. And I just think some people aren't willing to do that work, but it can completely change the game.
So that's one of our first things that we do with our clients. And I kind of wrote down a couple little notes. The first thing that we tell them is to cultivate your story. And we talk about this in our book a lot, but cultivating your story and understanding kind of where the beginning of your story begins in the context of your business. So obviously not everyone on their About Me page or on, in the scope of their business, their little bios, whatever. I was born in blank. Okay, that's not where your story begins. That's not where your business story begins. Maybe it started in college, or maybe it started at a certain age when you found a passion for something, or maybe you actually fell out of love with something and it pushed you towards blank, wherever that beginning starts, you want to jot all this stuff down. That's like, okay, what was the beginning? What are the interesting parts? What are the most important pieces of the story that need to be acknowledged or told? And so that's when you can really start crafting that brand story, that it doesn't need to be, when I was 3 years old, I felt, no, like that's not the beginning. And some people it is. Some people it's like, I've been doing it since I was a child and I realized this is my business. But when you can step back and look at your business as a story and where it starts, what it's currently up to now, where do people fit in that story? That's huge. And then the second, like you said, is kind of defining these brand pillars. What things surround my brand, or what inside of my brand can be spoken about besides just our product or service, or besides just our story. And by identifying those things, you're able to keep a variety in your content, in your captions, in your podcast, in whatever you're sharing about, without being scatterbrained. Because people tend to either do, like, we share our products and services, we share our business, we share our promotions. It's very straightforward. And it kind of is surface level, if you will. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Or it's like, we want to be so personal that it's like a little too all personal. Over the place. Yeah. And that's fine for your personal Facebook profile. That's such as life. We are humans. We change and adapt and grow. And there's tons of things that come up and interests and stuff. But in the context of a business, if you can get it down to a few, say 5, things that are really surrounding your business that you can continue to talk about, continue to create content around, then that's allowing people to see a personal view into you without really muddying that water to like, wait, what do they do? What are they sharing about? It's more intentional of like, oh yeah, they also love blank, I don't know what it is for you. Like, you shared something about health last week, about what you guys have been up to in your personal lives. I love that. I connect with that because I'm a big health freak. Yeah. I resonate with that. So by having different facets of your business that are not simply what you offer or things that are very surface level of your business, you will connect so much deeper with the people that you want to connect with. Those are your ideal people that are relatable to you and your business. So that's huge for what we tell our clients to do.
Yeah, I love that. What are some of your, brand pillars that you love to share?
Yeah. Social media? Yeah, I love, so my number one would probably be adventure. And that's like, I always try to say from, if it's miles away or if it's right here in our home, we'll call it a village. It's not quite a city. But adventure is big for me. Like, no matter if it's going on a hike or going to try a new restaurant or whatever, that's adventure to me. And we try to live that as often as possible in our lives. So I think adventure is big. Alongside that is travel. I love to travel. So that's a big part of like my inspiration and my content. I love shooting travel influenced photos. Another one I would say is kind of just like motivation or inspiration, I guess, in like tangible ways. So I don't just share, hey, here's how you can change your business. It's also like, hey, we're all in this together and you can change your life. Your life is in your hands. Accountability, that kind of thing. So it's different for everybody, but I try to show, and also like my relationship with Aaron, I'm very aware of the boundaries of what I share, but he's a big part. He would be another pillar of mine, I guess, because he's a huge part of my life, in business and in love. But that's a big part that I'm willing to share just because he's been the support since the beginning. So it just depends on how you map that out and how you feel comfortable. Like I said, health is huge to me, but it's not necessarily one of my pillars because it's personal. It's personal. I'm not a nutritionist. So I'll share certain bits of that, but I'm very aware of how I share it and how it connects back to my narrative and to my pillars. So it's just fun. If you have these kind of built out, everything you share, you kind of think back to those. Okay. In the scope of my brand, how is this communicated? How is this going to be understood by the people that are hanging out in my community? Is it going to be well received or not? And you can know that without having to test it and be like, ooh, that didn't do well because it was kind of out of left field. It's kind of a framework that we like to have, and it's benefited me greatly. So
yeah, the biggest thing that I hear out of that is really, it starts with that story and really
yeah,
getting clear, because then everything's going to come back to that piece, which is
absolutely.
so important. And I think, in the past I've had a little bit of trouble pinpointing it, because I feel like there's so many things that happen
Yes.
to get me to where I am. So
Yes.
have you found like, certain clients of yours having trouble with like gaining that clarity and
Always. And
pinpointing it?
especially, people who have a phenomenal story, it tends to be the hardest to kind of pare down, because I mean, most people have phenomenal stories if you ask me, but I just love hearing people's experiences, but they say the exact same thing. Like, oh my gosh, I have no idea what to say because it's all important. Everything has to be in there. My story has to be, this many pages long. And the reality of it is it doesn't. So we have exercises that we do that kind of break down different questions that we ask, if people were to describe you, how would they describe you? What experiences have put you where you are? There's just different things that we ask that kind of get clarity on what's really important, because some experience might have been the most awesome, but what came out of it? What was the lesson? How did it impact your business? And paring that down to kind of be little tangible bites that people really remember and think of you, that are really memorable. That's what's important, versus every single person knowing the length of your story and then not remembering most of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think that's the beauty of having coaching or consulting relationships, because sometimes you're so close to it that you don't hear it for yourself. And I know I was chatting with a client last week and reflecting back to her what I was hearing, and she's like, "Oh, I never thought of it that way."
Isn't
It's
that
just like,
so funny?
and it's just so much fun to do that work. So, I mean, having somebody else, and if you stay stuck in your own head, it's just it's not gonna help you. But no, I love that. I love everything you said there. And I look at my journey sometimes and I'm like, oh, it's not a linear path.
No.
Right?
No, it's not. None of ours are. That's boring.
Yeah, I know, but it is awesome. And it's a fun exercise to do. And last week, actually, everything was last week, apparently.
A lot happened last week.
I know, it was a busy week, but I also sent out a little 2-question survey to a few people and some past clients asking why they hired me, because I've been trying to craft some communication around something new. And it was like an eye-opening thing to kind of learn. So I love that you ask your clients that, what would people say about you? And so, sometimes you might be afraid to see what people think, but it's super helpful.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Oh yeah. For our, like when we ask our clients about us and how we work, like I welcome bad, good, everything. You'd be surprised. I mean, if you're offering a wonderful client experience, typically it's not super bad, but even people who write back that I have nothing bad, I'm like, come on, there's gotta be something that maybe it's not bad, but could be perfected or could be, taken to the next level or whatever. And I think all feedback is good feedback, because it just allows you to grow. And, and sometimes our clients are fun. They come back and they're like, maybe online their kind of story is kind of flat, like maybe it doesn't have too much depth, and I'll ask things. I'm like, be honest, be true. And people are like, oh, I'm really sarcastic, or I'm really this, or I'm really that, but I just don't know how to work that into my brand. It's like, you have to own it. You have to know what your voice is. And like, that's another thing I have written down, is refining your voice. So as a brand, are you funny? Are you contemplative? Are you, really engaging, like friendly, always really like kind? I mean, it just depends. And some people are like, oh, I have to be welcoming and friendly. It's like, I mean, I think probably like in your customer relations, I hope, please be friendly. But as a brand voice, you can be sarcastic, you can be witty, you can be funny, you can be snarky, you can be whatever you want, or whoever you already are. So I feel like some people have to mute things or shove things down because that's not how this works. And it's like, oh no, some of my favorite people on the internet are like hilariously sarcastic, and it's not off-putting at all. So it's just kind of knowing your voice, knowing how that sounds, how that comes across, and really highlighting the things about you that are, part of who you are or who your brand is, and learning how to communicate that fluidly.
Yeah, I love that. It's kind of like writing like how you speak, right?
Absolutely.
I say, hey girl, all the time. And so you'll see that in my social media posts. And I mean, some people aren't going to resonate with that, but that just probably means they're not my people. And
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I've met a ton of people who maybe I've connected with online first, and it's the biggest compliment to me when they're like, you sound just like you do online. Because I try to use words that I use in real life. Like, I don't want to sound any different than I am. I want it to be a pure extension, and that's fun for brands, especially if there's multiple people there, to kind of see how that landscape looks and how to communicate that. And then obviously for, you know, a one-person show or a couple people in a business, it's also interesting to be able to make sure that's mirrored, and it's really just an extension of who you are in real life.
Yeah, no, I love that. That sort of leads me into like this other question I wanted to ask you around fostering like community and creating that engagement on social media. What are some ways that you love to do that? And just, you know, so that you're not just like posting and praying that it's going to have a great response, because I know a lot of people do that and they forget that they see social media as just this item on their to-do list. Like, oh, we posted today, on to the next thing, you know?
Yeah.
So,
which is the worst way to kind of look at it. I don't know. I am so blown away by that, I guess, in this day and age. Maybe a couple of years ago I understood that, but I know that some people really do see it as like, okay, I have to be on social media. And it's my biggest thing with our clients and anyone that, you know, reads our book or engages with me online. I want it to be less of a have to and more of a get to. I see it as an opportunity. It's an opportunity to really, you know, even if it's just a personal thing, even if it's literally not even business related, you can meet so many amazing, incredible people. So if you take that to a business extension, it is an online network that just could be tapped into. So if you just simply post and, like you said, pray, fingers crossed, oh, people will come, because that's awesome. No one's going to come. There's no one that's going to just find you. So one of the biggest things is you have to give love to get love. So people that you follow, like, go out and leave comments that are genuine, be nice. Follow people who inspire you. So you want to get on there and spend, you know, that strategic time hopping on, engaging, be a voice in the community. So, commenting, liking people's photos, and then also having a great hashtag strategy. And everyone's confused by what that means, and I would love to go into it deeper, but it is kind of a messy, rabbit hole, if you will. But by having a hashtags that are not descriptive, that are not like hashtag rosé. Okay, if you're drinking a glass of rosé, that's not doing anybody good. No one is clicking on hashtag rosé.
My sister does this all the time, and it drives me nuts.
Everyone does that doesn't know what they're doing. Come find me. I will help you. No, but using it to tap into communities and to, I would say, community-based hashtags where you're actually, you know, connecting with other people who maybe, yes way rosé, they're into it, not rosé as in describing what's in there. Especially that's hard for businesses. They're like, oh, I hope this works. It may not work. It's not tapping into who you want to be tapping into. So if you're using correct hashtags that are awesome, you know, great size, you're not being overwhelmed, people will find you on there, but you also have to go on there and engage. So you're going to join into that community and really just be a presence. So I always schedule a little time before and after I post that is just going out there to see what other people are up to. People locally in your area, that's huge. And this is just on Instagram specifically, but there's different ways to network on each social platform. Facebook's awesome for business to business. Again, start locally. If you know of other awesome entrepreneurs or small businesses in your area, start there. Yeah. See what they're doing online. Make sure that you're engaging on their content, showing them love. Because as we know, algorithms they all show what everybody else is up to. So if you're engaging onto another business, there's an opportunity for your name to be seen on a comment, obviously, but mostly if you give love, they tend to write back and reciprocate. So they're going to like and comment on your photos, and then their audience is seeing that they're kind of having this relationship with you and they enjoy what you're doing. So the best thing I think you can do is think of, number one, think of it as a community. They're real people. Number two, think of it as like going to a networking party, but you're online. You would never run up to somebody and like give them your business card. Hi, I am Elana and this is my business card and I am awesome. You would never say that. You would never do that. Or even just like walk up. maybe you would compliment someone's dress. Maybe that's a bad example, but you would never just go up to somebody and be like, awesome business you have there. People are like, what? No, like be a genuine person. Go out there and like, hi, I see that, you know, I've heard this about you, or I've seen your work and you're phenomenal. I want to know more about you.
Yeah.
So scroll through, you know, whatever they're posting, spend some time learning about them and engaging, building actual relationships. And I know that sounds extremely time consuming, but back, you know, like I said earlier, schedule it out. Make social media, yes, and I get to, not and I have to, but do put it on your list and schedule out some time. And the time's not just to post or to craft the perfect caption, but it's actually to get on there and be interactive, be social. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. No, I love that. I mean, one of the best things that I found through social media is when I do connect to somebody and then take it offline to have an actual coffee chat. And some people are like, how do you have time for all that? I'm like, well, I'm in the business of connecting with people, you know,
yeah.
And it's fulfilling to me. It's, you know, it's just on social media, sometimes it's one-sided or it's not a direct, you know, back and forth communication. So I love what you said, you know, you see social media as an opportunity, and like, I see it as, you know, a tool as well, because it's not that social media is making you money. It's how you use it and
yes,
how you
leverage it for your business. Yeah, right. For sure.
And I know you talk about that a lot, being, you know, profitable, not just popular, and like how you are strategically using social media to connect. It's really just a way to connect to potential people.
Yeah. And we get that a lot when people first inquire with us. It's a lot about numbers. Oh, I'm stuck at blank. How do I get a bigger community? How do I do this? And then the more and more I communicate how much I am about the profitability, now people are more understanding, like, how can this make an impact on my revenue? And that's where it should be as a business. I mean, as a person, I don't know.
Yeah.
maybe you do care about how many people you have on your online community. I don't know. But my thing is, if you have 100,000 people who are connecting with you online and 40,000 of those people are robots, foreign accounts that don't speak the same language as you, I mean, whatever, whoever they are, those weird, creepy accounts that we all know what I'm talking about. If that's who your audience is, how is that benefiting you? That's my question. If you're an influencer, even people are like, oh, well, it's all about the numbers. It's all about how that's, you know, how many eyes I'm getting on this brand, whatever. If they're not real people and they're not in your ideal demographic, they are serving nobody. You are not serving them. They are not serving you. Why are they there? So a big tactic I use is blocking people. And like, that's like flabbergasting to some humans. Like, they're like, what? Why would you block anybody? Like, well, why would I want a free giveaway for this gift card account that's total spam? And like, what is this even? What is the point of this account? Why do I want them following me? And without getting too geeky on the algorithm, on any algorithm, on any of the social platforms, so I can get geeky on all of them, but without going too far into it, if they're the ones that are first seeing my content and they're not engaging with it because they are not they are, you know, a fake account, you do terrible in the algorithm. So rather than complaining, oh my gosh, I need more people, look into the community that you have right now and the people that are coming in right now and make sure they're serving your company. Make sure that they are actually people who want to hear from you, people that want to buy from you, people that want to share about you, people that want to scream your name from the rooftops. I mean, maybe not that extreme, but at least tell their friends. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's the biggest compliment to me when people, you know, tag their friends on my stuff, you know, or share my blog post or whatever, and are like, hey, this girl is doing something awesome, check it out. That's how every business should be functioning. It should be a true, pure audience, if you will, of real people who you want to be talking to and want to be talking with you. And if that's how you approach social media and that's kind of how you keep your online community, then engagement's a lot easier. What I was just speaking about, engaging with people, they're real people that actually want to connect with you. And if you have a product or service, they want to engage with it. They want to buy from you. They want to hang out and, you know, take whatever you're willing to give them. And whether that's like launching a print shop or launching a service, a consulting service, whatever, if you have a community of people who actually are real humans that want to be hanging out with you, it makes sense. And it makes a humongous impact on your revenue.
Amen, sister. That is amazing. And, you know, there's something that I say a lot. It's like, you know, when it comes to goal setting and having these things that you want to achieve, so many people, like I said, again, being a recovering, like, control freak, you know, always feeling like you need to control that outcome. And what I'm really, I guess, living now is when you have that right intention from the get-go, your achievement is inevitable. If you built that strategy out, then it just makes sense. And it's the same thing that you're talking about with, you know, having the right people, starting from the space where things make sense. The dots are connected, and it's, you know, there is a strategy behind it, but it's an authentic one. And it's one that is going to create that impact down the road. So
for sure. And I hear people like, oh, I only have X amount, we'll say 1,000, which to me is hilarious, because if you had 1,000 people sitting in your, I'm on my lanai, that's where I am, sitting on your lanai, you'd be like, I have 1,000 people here. This is incredible. Hi guys, how are you? Yet when it's online, oh, it's not good enough. Think about that. That is incredible to me, that like, especially when I think of it kind of as like I've heard this analogy before and I love it. I don't know where I came from. I need to find the origin, but it's kind of like having a dinner party, and you have all your friends seated around your table. You're all hanging out, you know, sipping wine, eating some delicious food. And you are outside on your street screaming, I'm having a dinner party. I'm having a dinner party. Guys, come. I'm having this awesome dinner party. The people inside your house are like, hey,
I'm over here.
I'm over here. Yeah. So I think honor what you have, and those people sitting right at your table. Wow, Shannon offers a really awesome dinner party. You should come over. Come eat with us. Come hang out with us. And that's kind of how it works out. And so if you have 1,000 people who are phenomenally excited about what you're doing, that's so much more valuable than 10,000 or 30,000 people that aren't real people or don't care what you're doing. So really pay attention to the quality of people, and even like the quality, just all quality over quantity is what be really engaged.
I love that. I love how you turn it into real life. Like, it makes so much sense when you.
It is real life. That's what like blows my mind. Like I don't talk about you. I don't say the word follower. I don't say hashtag in real life. That makes my skin crawl. Like I will say hashtag strategy because it's actually like something that we create for our clients. But as far as like, no, real social media words can live on social media, but the ideas that I take to social media all come from real life because they are real people. You have to think about it that way.
I love it. I love it. Oh my gosh, you're amazing.
Oh, you're so sweet. No, it's all about genuine relationships for me. That's where it starts and it ends. So
yep. Business moves at the speed of relationships. And I always say that. And I know we've talked about that before, of just looking where your clients are actually coming from or how people have actually entered your life. It's based on relationships or referrals or connections from other people. And you can kind of look at social media as this way of developing these genuine connections. It's, you can't even tell what will come from that.
It soars. I look back, I'm writing a post right now for my blog. It's about my journey with social media, about how much it's impacted my life, not necessarily social media like tactics or anything, but it's been phenomenal writing the piece because I think about literally how much has changed my life just because of the way I look at social media and how the connections I've made in real life because of people I've made online or business opportunities, speaking engagements, workshops being held, whatever. It has been so awe-inspiring to me that people are like, oh, social media, and they like poo-poo it. Oh, it's nothing. Or vice versa, that they don't, that they're so worried about the numbers or, you know, the kind of the non-reality, in my opinion. I look at it in the reality scope, how it does actually impact lives, you know, revenue-wise, experience-wise, friendship-wise, you know, business relationship-wise. It's huge. I can't wait to write it and like publish it just so people can see like the actual things that have come from these silly apps. It's inspiring to me.
Yeah, I know. I look at just my circle of friends and people that I have such close relationships that I haven't actually met in person.
Yeah.
And it's nuts to kind of think about that's what can be created. And I think that there are still so many people that don't view social media the way that you do and the way that you're talking about today. And that's why I said at the beginning, I'm like, it's so refreshing and it's nice to be reminded. And it's just so simple at the same time. And yet so many people aren't really taking that approach. And so I'm so excited that you're here talking about this. But speaking of your blog, like tell everybody how they can kind of get in touch with you and learn more about you. And
so my blog is elanaloo.com. ELANA is how you spell my name, and then LOO.com. So that's where I blog. I don't call myself a blogger all the time because I'm not as consistent as amazing, phenomenal bloggers are. But I do share, I pride myself in everything I share adds value. So typically why I'm not blogging as often is because I really, really care about the photography I share. I really care about the words that I share and the value behind them. So that's where you can find me blog-wise. On social media, I'm Elana Lou across the board. And I, like I said, my Instagram is kind of a micro blog. Excuse how long my captions are, but that's kind of what I do. If you couldn't tell, I talk a lot. So that's where you can find me. And yeah.
Yay. I'm so excited. Thank you so much for being on the show today.
Yeah.
Can't wait for everyone to check out your amazing Instagram profile, by the way, which if you want a dose of Hawaiian.
Oh, you're so sweet. You're so sweet. Yeah. And I forgot to share, of course, I'm the worst at this, as we've talked about. My business website is DarifCollective.com. You can link it right from Elana Lou. It just says work with me. It's on the right. And that's where you can find the link to our blog, or our book. All of it's kind of synonymous with each other. So you'll be able to find me.
I'll definitely include it in the show notes for sure. Thanks, girl. It was amazing chatting with you.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.